morning. This is Theresa and Matt in the morning with our special guest, Mr. Steve Keivel.
Good morning, everybody. Looking forward to talking about a little Super Bowl talk that we think is going to make the Super Bowl next year and some other topics on sports, right?
All right.
Yeah.
You can start, Mr. O. Were you surprised with the outcome?
Yes, I was very much surprised. I thought Denver would have showed up. I was kind of hoping for Denver because I really thought Peyton Manning would go out. You know, if he wins, he'd retire.
And go out on top. I was kind of thinking the same thing.
But I tell you, that Seattle defense really rose to the occasion. Holy moly!
Yeah, like you could tell right off the bat when the first snap went over the head when he was audible with the line of scrimmage, they were in for a bad game. But you got to give their defense credit. I mean, they held them to 2 field goals after the safety to hope that their offense would get back into some rhythm. But
Yeah.
you got to credit Seattle, man. Their defense is one of the best in football. We probably haven't seen defense like that since the 2002 Ravens.
Right. Yep.
I was kind of surprised that, you know, Denver's always been such a high-scoring team all season that, you know, even the Seahawks defense was scoring. When their offense and defense is scoring against you, I don't know.
That's what I was surprised that linebacker got the most valuable player. I would have thought Percy Harvin would.
I thought Harvin would too. I was kind of surprised that Marcus Smith ended up being for one. You know, he obviously ran it back, but Percy Harvin's run back there to start the half just pretty put the nail in the coffin for the Denver Broncos. But you can't win Super Bowls when you're -4 on turnovers,
No.
especially the putting pressure on Peyton Manning, causing interceptions, and the fumble by Thomas there. That getting stripped of the ball and they needed a little momentum there in the second half was another thing that kind of put the nail in the coffin again as the run back by Harvin did to start the half.
The other nice thing I liked was the refs were letting them play. You know, they weren't calling the holding on the you know, like on Seattle's defense and stuff. They let them play. You know, they had to actually literally fight for the ball. It wasn't no gimme, you know, like penalty right here, you know, and stuff like that. So it was kind of nice to see them.
I thought it was well officiated, to be honest with you. Probably one of the best officiated Super Bowls.
There wasn't any bad calls,
Yeah.
so.
But it's gonna be interesting to see where Denver goes from here. You know, Manning is going to his 17th year in the league. If he's going to be proficient, I mean, they got great receivers, Thomas and Welker and Decker, but Decker and Welker kind of disappeared a little bit. They didn't have great games. Thomas had a good game, but that turnover was very, that was heartbreaking for Denver Bronco fans there toward the end of the quarter there.
Okay, now we got to move to college sports talk real quick.
All right.
Ohio State, what's going on with them?
And basketball, very depressing this year. The game against Wisconsin, there were 2 teams that just couldn't score the rock, and both programs are kind of going in the same direction with being able to score the basketball. You know, Ohio State for the past few years have had scores like Buford and Diebler and Sellinger and Deshaun Thomas last year. They don't have a go-to guy, and without a go-to guy, it's going to be a long season. I don't see them, you know, if they make the tournament, you know, they're kind of on the cusp of not making the tournament, which is kind of hard to say for a Thad Matta coach team because he's averaged 20 to 25 wins a year on average. So it's been kind of a rough season for the Buckeyes. Got a great recruiting class coming in next year. A kid out of Columbus named Deshaun Tate can score the basketball along with a kid by the name Cates Diop, who's going to be the other kid that would be a scorer for him, and D'Angelo Russell. So there's help on the way. It's just not coming. It's just not right now for him.
Having that dominant leader seems to really even just help with morale, it seems like. I've seen that with a lot of other teams.
So let's go back a little bit about the NFL. So who you got next year to get to the Super Bowl? Who you got?
I am still looking at it. I haven't picked a team yet.
On the NFC side, I kind of look at San Francisco and Seattle down there. And on the AFC, I think New England and I might go with Baltimore, I guess, but I think they're going to rebound. But Cincinnati, I don't know.
I don't know either. I tell you, it all starts with number 14 for the Bengals. If he can cut down the turnovers, the Bengals have the roster to do something. I was watching the Super Bowl. I said, why not Cincinnati? I mean, you look at them. They're not obviously they don't have a defensive what Seattle has. Their back four for Seattle is one of the best in football.
Yeah.
But it's not always going to be your number 1 offense and number 1 defense like it was this year in the Super Bowl.
True,
so
true.
Sometimes you get a wild card team in. When Denver beat the Packers, they were a wild card team in the Super Bowl.
That is true. You know, well, the Packers wound up being a 6 seed coming out, so there's always hope for the Bengals. But if you'd ask me, and here we start today, you know, we haven't even had the draft, we haven't even had free agency, and I think San Francisco, I would agree. I think San Francisco is possibly, in my opinion, was as good as Seattle. I think the Super Bowl was the NFC Championship. John Clayton had a great article on the 5 teams that he thought would be Super Bowl contenders next year. And he had the St. Louis Rams in there. He had the Carolina Panthers. Based on Cam Newton's progress as a quarterback, you look at that NFC West, it's going to be hard to get through that conference. So I think whoever comes out of there is going to have a great shot of getting to the Super Bowl. In the AFC, it's wide open. I agree, Matt. I don't know who you say Denver. It's so wide open. So.
All right, we're running out of time, so we got to call this episode to an end. Thank you for watching.
And thank you, Mr. Steve Keivel, for.
Thank you.